coaches, how do you deal with outside influences? Maybe you're really happy coaching your team and that's all you want to do. The inner circle of the team is tight, it's working the way you want. But you're getting all these outside influences. You're getting all these different stakeholders, different people in your organization who are starting to question how you're coaching the team, or they're starting to question your methodology of working with athletes. How do you deal with this? Episode 25 of the Don't Tell Me, Show Me podcast is going to deal with this theme of outside influences. I'm joined by Mark Bennett. Thanks for joining me as always, Mark.
Pleasure.
Right. You must have worked with coaches in some elite settings who have had, can I say, politely call it influence. At best it's influence, at worst it's outright interference or disagreement. So how do you work with coaches? How do you help them understand this concept of outside influences and what to do about it?
It's an interesting concept, Simon, because I would say from the elite sport I work with in the States and in UK, grassroots clubs, corporate sector, and indeed in schools, one of the challenges we have is I build what I call a spider's web. So you're in the middle, and then outside, who are the people of influence? And it may be, so if we put that in position of a grassroots club, it could be, well, the people of influence are the club sponsors, the owner, parents, fans, SNC, physio, psych, if they have one, many don't. So we have all these people, and what often happen is sometimes, and most of the time, at the beginning of the season, we share and we bring the parents in as an example in a club, and we say, right, this is a vision we want this season, and it's about engagement, enjoyment, and we want to make sure every player has minutes on the pitch in matches. We're really going to focus on that and not just on the result. This is why we're doing it, and we want people to keep coming back to the club and becoming better people. And all the parents go, whoa, fantastic. And then during the season, their child, maybe they've come off a loss or they haven't got as many minutes as another child. Now, a parent will spot that at a club more than anyone else, their child. And then what we don't do is we don't keep them hooked in. So what can often happen then is we get to a point where a parent, I'm using the parent as an example, is now love the chat at the beginning or didn't turn up for the chat at the beginning, which can often be the case. And they're not liking that their son or daughter is not getting the minutes, or they're being forced to play in a way they don't think their son or daughter should be. And then they will start speaking to other parents in a little echo chamber and negativity, or won't say anything and pull their child out of the club, or then they'll rant at the coach. They'll pull them off to the side and go, here we go. So then the coach is firefighting because they're being reactive and not proactive. So one of the strategies I always put in is, once we build that spider's web, who are the people of influence? Have we then, so the difference between a star and a spider's web for everyone listening is, a star would be you're in the middle, and everyone should do this, by the way, if you're the boss, the manager, the player, the parent, doesn't matter. And then you have, who are the people of influence that allow me to perform and who I need to help them perform to their best. But the challenge with a star is it's only them to you. A spider's web is you'll have them to you, but which of these also need to connect, being the lines of the spider's web? And am I making sure proactively they're staying connected? So if we go then back to the club point, what I always do is get everyone to do that and then go, right, have you sold them into the behaviors and the why and what to expect this season? And we set that, but here's where the trip up can often happen, is we get so caught up into the season, volunteer coaches, especially at club level and even elite, get really, really busy. And what we tend not to do is then keep monthly updates. As an example, is there an easy way to I make sure parents every month can get a proactive update in, this is the progress we've made this month. This is what you can look for in training. This is what we're going to focus on in the match. Some highlights for you to share here. The challenges, this is what we're going to do. Along the route, every single month minimum, we keep them connected in. We're making sure the owners, the sponsors are connecting in all the time. And we're setting that as a non-negotiable that we do. So when that doesn't happen, we start losing our way a little bit. And that's when we start to get, as if you haven't listened to the last episode, please do. That's when we start getting the disconnect outside the team. So the team might be locked in. We're believing what we're doing. We're interacting. Our behaviors are fantastic. But outside the team, We're starting to get some saboteurs. We're starting to get some disconnect. We're starting to get some negative echo chambers because we are not being proactive on keeping them connected in on where we are now.
Yeah, in that Spiders Web example, I think there's a real hint in there for coaches working with parents, which is we tend to think about, okay, how do I communicate with parents? What you've described here, monthly emails or opportunities to talk, etc. But what I found really valuable is how can you facilitate parents communicating with other parents?
Mm.
Because I'm a grassroots community coach. I'm also a parent of a kid who plays. And so I'm wearing two hats when I'm watching a game. And if I've got my parent hat on, my eyes are just following my daughter everywhere. And if I've got my coach hat on, I'm looking off the ball. I'm scanning, right? But this, maybe we should teach parents scanning because they do not scan whatsoever. It's just human nature. It's just not a criticism. So of course they only have one perspective, which is the experience that my child has had, and it's fair to say, well, you could probably count 10 times when they were open and didn't receive a pass in a game. But because they haven't scanned, they haven't realized that the player next to them has also been open 10 times and not received a pass. And in fact, possibly, dare I say it, your child maybe didn't pass to somebody when they could have, but you might see that differently.
Yeah.
But if you enable conversations between parents, then we can gain the perspective. Like if I have some empathy for the parent next to me and I know their child, I start to see the game a little bit through their eyes as well. And so it's not just through my own eyes. So I love that Spiders Web concept of like, how do we get parents to connect with each other?
Now, you've heard me use the word ninja in the past for players. So when I use the word ninja, what that is not people with balaclavas running around assassinating people, is the principle of a ninja is someone who's a high influencer, high motivated, but often if they're an unskilled ninja that hasn't had the mastery of the software of empathy, understanding, getting the best of others, they'll be hypercritical of others. I working hard. Why aren't you? Why haven't you seen that? Now, we talked about that in players. What we need to do is look at who are our ninja parents. Who are the parents of influencers that can champion or disrupt? They always come, always vocal, can have their little mini meetings. So, I mean, Evo Soccer, Evo Rugby, a great example of a client for years where they spot their ninja parents. They have a little database of them. So they make sure they stay connected. They make sure all parents understand, right, this phase, this match, this is what we're doing. So it may be we're really working on our passing. So you may see one of our scoring is how often we pass. So you may see someone really open and a long pass is easy, but that's not priming them for their age. It's just because that's a taller person, and keep passing them. We're not developing the players. We might score. So keep an eye out for the passing options and how they receive and get into a position to move. So then we make sure that the ninjas keep that alive. So they're making sure they're letting other parents know. So then when they hear a parent going, "Oh, I could have just passed over the top," that parent can go, "Yeah, we're really looking at passing now, and I've counted 6 already in that. Great, finding the space and moving." So then they're helping to positive influence. So that's the same as when we get a new parent coming in. The Evo, as an example of a club, they'd speak to one of the ninja parents and go, "Right, we've got new parents coming in. Are you available Tuesday evening? Can you meet with them?" So when they come in and go, "Hi, I'm Sarah, I'm Stevie," and they take them under their wing. So when they're watching a practice or the match, they can highlight to them very early on is, look what's happening here. So we're priming. So one part you've said there, Simon, is how can we interact and have empathy with others? But can we prime them to look for the right elements that what we're working on, whether that's behavior and passing and communication. So now, as opposed to them looking with filters and we're trying to reset them and they're holding on to it, we've already got them to look for the right elements. And then we have those ninja parents that we keep connecting in to influence other parents.
Okay, can we switch gears? Let's talk about higher ups. Let's talk about, the board of directors, the senior managers on an organization. That could be in an elite setting where there's paid staff at the highest level, CEOs, but also at a community level where there's a committee or a board of trustees or there's a steering group of the club. The principles are still applicable. I can understand some natural resistance, and I see this in coaches where the mentality is, I know the game, they don't know the game, therefore everything they say is rubbish, trash for our American audience. How dare they question my methods? But from the other side, how does a trustee, a director, a committee member, or a senior staff member hold the coach accountable if something's just not working? Or so how do they hold them accountable? So there's got to be some feedback. There's got to be some questioning, and it might be really legit questioning, but coaches disregard it because of who's asking the question. And now you get into these unsaid things where now you've got directors talking about the coach behind the coach's back, and you could blame the directors from the coach's point of view, but actually if the coach is not open to the conversation with those directors, then who else are they going to talk to? Because they can't talk directly to you because you shut them out.
Let me connect to the parents and I go straight to. So on the parents, an example we'll see is one of the examples of keeping them up to date. Everybody, not just those ninjas, is on your website. You just have a live update where it might be a video clip, a coach sharing something, a player sharing something. So it's easy. It's not like an email someone else. There's a live. They know it goes live. You connect. When we come to the committee members, investors, these elements, we've got to prime them early. So I know we discussed on a episode quite a few ago now is if you're taking the job as an elite coach, before you say yes to the job that maybe millions, is you got to ask yourself, is okay, where is my autonomy? Where are your expectations this season, or is it 3 season of where they are? If you're getting back from the people that are hiring and the investors, whatever it may be, is, we want to win the championships next season. We go, that's great. You haven't finished in the top 10 for the last 10 years. No one can guarantee that for you. So it's a pie in the sky. So I'm not taking the job if that's your only success marker. But what I can do is I can share with you some success markers we can measure that I can keep you up to date with that are controllable for us. Would you be interested in that? Now, if then the board says no, then you can decide, am I going to take this job? And then I know I'm potentially going to be fired in 6 months, so I'll have a balloon payment, which may or may not happen with a lot of elite sports. Or do I say, I'm not the right man for you, or not the right woman for you, because I can't achieve that? Generally, in my experience working with elite coaches that do this and managers, you normally get the board that's more open because they're going, well, I'm employing you. We've asked you to come to the club for a reason. So that they're seeing you as a specialist. But what you need to recognize is it's an opportunity to open the door to set some benchmark performance indicators that I can keep you up to date with monthly. I would suggest monthly at least, of right, these are our markers. And then you can, once you've shared it for this 4 weeks or 8 weeks, you make sure you hook into them. Even if they don't ask you, because they may be having a chat, they might not be proactive in communicating. You go, right, here's my update. So this is where we said we were going to work on. Here's where I can show you the progress. We've either gone well ahead of where we are, or there's some influences we didn't see, but we're still on the right track. Here's what we're looking for the next 4 weeks. So then someone like, if you look at Slot for Liverpool example, I'm pretty sure he'd be very good at this. So what he may say, look, we expected to win the, target these games. If we nailed our performance, we should win these games based on our team capability. I've got 4 of our main players out or injured. So I'm actually working with a lower capability team. There's some variables here that we didn't understand, but I think we're still building. The rehab is good. We're expecting them to come in then. The engagement is right. The communication, the commitment on the pitch is right. We're staying connected. So then, as opposed to a committee member just coming up with their own ideas that aren't specialists, they're going, oh, I understand now. Okay, I'm more likely to support you on that train. Now, Simon, can you share an example you did on the last episode of People That Listen, where there was I think it was an NBA coach you shared where they wanted to do a faster rotation?
Yeah, it's happening in Memphis right now.
Could you just share that? Because that's an important. Then I can put some texture on that as an example.
Yeah. So Memphis Grizzlies as a new coach, European, and introducing a substitution pattern which is different to the norm in the NBA. Norm in the NBA is you play for longer and then you rest for longer. This coach is trying to put in you play for shorter and then you rest for shorter. So it's much more dynamic, but it can take players out of their rhythms, especially what they're used to. And then there's a little bit of, well, my team's doing the star player as well. I'm playing 6 minutes in a row, whereas the star player on the other team is playing 9 minutes in a row. I want to be treated the same as them. And so there's conflict at that level. And then you've got in upper management, you've got somebody has employed this coach. Somebody's brought in this European coach with different ideas. That's their guy. You hear that a lot in American sport, don't you? That's my guy.
Yeah.
So you've got situations where performance directors or athletic directors or general managers are connected to the head coach. They're kind of joined at the hip. You know, they come together as a pair in some way. So now is there a lot of, covering your ass now happening inside that organization? Whose idea was this? Was it the head coach's? Did he communicate with the GM? Does he have him aligned? So you've got a misalignment. You've got the upper management, the coach, and the star player, and it's unclear how well that was aligned.
So let's look at that as an example. What I don't know, because I don't know any for the texture of what went on behind the scenes, is when they brought that coach in, did that coach say, look, this is a style of player I want to introduce. This is why. I think this is what you can give us the edge. But because the players aren't used to it, it might give us 3 months as a target before they start working those capability combinations. They start realizing I can work harder, faster than I'm used to, get out of that autonomous mode so I can really go for it. I can recover quicker. We can have those sideline chats. What are we seeing? So what do we need to chat back in? It's going to take. So then the board or the owners and indeed the fans, they're understanding, okay, this is why we're doing it, but I think this is why, but here's the expectation. So then when we get 3 months in, and everyone's like the owners and the board are going, we're still losing. And you said in 3 months we go, but because we haven't given any updates or where the adaptation is. So if I'll make an adaptation up, Simon, is what I mean. Is so I had an idea. We committed to the idea. I still believe the idea is the right idea, but it's not working in the way that I expected it to work. But here's the variable I'm going to do, and I'm going to share this with the team. Everyone knows in the team that I have these 2 players that are better than anyone else in the team. And at the moment, we're playing equal minutes, or they might play a few more. I know they're fit enough. So where the adaptation is going to happen is I'm going to give them 50% more time on the court than anyone else. But we're still going to do the rotations, but I'm going to have them on more because I think that will give us a bit of an edge in the performance, but we can still play with intensity and fresh. That would be an adaptation that I would share with the players and I go, yeah, it makes sense. But I would share with the board proactively, go, look, I still think it's the way we want to go, but this is the adaptation I'm going to make, and I think this will give us a bit of an edge before it starts to gel in with the team. And I'm looking to bring this player in next season, whatever it is. And all of a sudden now the board are going, I can see. So you're not blindly just going down this route that's not working. You're thinking it through. You're keeping us hooked in. I'm understanding it. Yeah, okay, let's commit to this. Or he goes, actually, it's not working. I'm going to adjust. So we'll do it in these moments, but we're not going to do it all the time. We're going to go back to this. And I'm letting you know why, but it's going to take us maybe a couple of seasons to start to bring this in. I still think it's a way, but this is the adaptation I'm going to make. Then the board and the people and the fans, whoever it is, the sponsor going, I get it. Okay, yeah, makes sense. As opposed to blindly coming up with their own ideas and go, this madman who recruited him, oh, it was your fault. You didn't tell me he was going to do this. Hang on a minute. No, he never told me, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to coach at any kind of decent level, and by that I mean just, I don't mean necessarily elite players, but just a well-organized professional organization. Doesn't have to be money involved in it. If you want to work at that kind of good level, whether it be community level, high school in the States, college in the States, professional club in Europe, you can't just put the blinkers up and not deal with the organizational politics. So finding a way of doing that that is authentic to you and fits your values must be really, really hard. I was talking with somebody recently in the States who works with a lot of athletic directors. So this person consults into colleges and big high schools at the athletic director level. So not the coach level, the athletic director level. And this person shared with me that athletic directors, they just fire the coach. That's their solution to everything. They just fire the coach and get a new one. It's not change culture. It's not look at themselves. It's actually just get rid of the coach, basically, and just replace them with somebody else. That's their solution. I was actually really surprised at the lack of accountability in some instances for athletic directors, and that there was actually a perverse incentive for there to be a little bit of misalignment or lack of communication from the athletic director to the coach to create a bit of distance and just say, okay, I'm putting you in place, get on with it. I expect results. I don't want to be too close to it because then I can't deny, that sort of deniability factor is not there. And then when you do badly, I'll just fire you and repeat the process with somebody else, but the next guy will be much better.
Yeah, and I think what's really important is that even if we look at elite level or club, is what, in my experience, what's happened is when things are going well, no one's analysing. It happened at Bath Rugby as an example. When Mike Ford was there, we were doing really well, most improved team 2 seasons running, made the playoffs, made the final first for many, many years. Not one owner asked Mike, what are you doing? It was a winning. The following season, they lost in the final. Then they had one of the worst World Cups, England, for quite a long time. And most of the England squad was made up of Saracens and Bath at the time. And so imagine now players were favourites to win in the final, mentally deflated. And it was a few little instances that they think, oh, we should have won that. And then they come back depleted from England of being knocked out of the group stages for the first time for ages. 2 weeks, that's all they had, and then they were straight into the season. And they were underperforming. At that point, the owner then starts bringing in an external consultant and go, what are we doing wrong? So that happens so much in business and organizations, as opposed to going, hang on a minute, am I keeping you on the loop on why we're doing what we're doing, whether we're winning or not, because that's the outcome, right? Sponsors, etc., owners, are we winning or not? Often that's their mark of reference. Am I keeping them proactive? Or during the season, I start just getting stuck into my coaching and my players and my who's injured, and all of a sudden now I'm disconnecting from these others. What I think, well, if they've got a problem, they'll speak to me. They won't. They'll be speaking to everybody else. So if we're looking at grassroots, at club coaches, am I disconnecting from my other coaches? Am I disconnecting from the parents because I'm busy? Well, if you do that, you're going to start losing your way and you're going to start having a firefight. And also then you become lonely. Alan's mentioned it a few on podcasts. Is the worst thing you can do is be a lonely coach, because it is a lonely place. Make sure you have that network. Make sure it's in your diary. Okay, have we done our update to parents? Have I done my update to the board? I'm a bit busy. No, I have to do this. This is so important to it. Have I made it clear at the beginning? Am I keeping everyone connected? Another example, Simon, is am I making sure that athlete is communicating with the strength and conditioning coach and the physio and making sure they're in a triangle loop? Or is it just or she turning up to the SNC, turning up for the physio, but there's a bit of a contradiction there on injury and they haven't looped in the way they should or could. It's just like a live document with no actual speaking, and all of a sudden now there's a disconnect. And now we're wondering why that player keeps getting injured, or they're not speeding up on their rehab as much. So it can be at every level. And that's why I always say, if you're in the middle, a coach, a sponsor, a committee member, an athlete, a parent, who are the people of influence that I can influence to help them be the best they can be? And who do I need to keep connected in to allow me to perform to my best? And make sure you're not just doing it at the beginning of a season and when something goes wrong. I'm consistently investing in that and I'm keeping it alive because no one else will. It will die down because that's just how it is unless you build a culture. Am I being the one to ignite the fire? Am I being the one to continue to be proactive, to seek clarity, to provide celebration when I see progress, to support them when things aren't going well, once we know what we said we're going to commit to? And that's where the fall down happens.
Well, we're getting to we're getting to the definition of coaching. Like, what is coaching here? If we have a narrow definition, it's what I do when I'm on the field or court with the players, and that's it. That's coaching. All I want to do is coach. Well, the only settings where that actually happens is community grassroots participation with no competitive outlet, and it's show up and have some fun with your friends and develop some movement skills. Like if your approach to coaching is I'm only interested in what happens on the court, the pitch, then you need to coach at that kind of level. As soon as you get competitive, you get into any kind of development or obviously performance, coaching is inherently political. No, I don't mean that in a bad way, politics with a small p, or I could put it in a more succinct, more articulate way. It's about working with people. It's about stakeholders. That is coaching, especially at the head coach level. And the further up you go, the less time you spend on the field or pitch, and the more time you spend talking with stakeholders, which is why there's so much alignment between head coaches at performance levels and CEOs in business. Because neither of them are actually involved in the actual running of the business. A CEO has a chief operating officer, a COO. A head coach has a lead assistant who's planning the practices and organizing all the assistants. At that level, coaching is not just working with the players.
Yeah, and if we use two examples of some of my clients, golf, working with England Golf quite a few years ago and help building their talent pathway. One of the challenges they had a player who was an England player, and they would have had a club coach, a county coach, and their national coach. And those three people did not communicate. Mm-hmm. So you had the player moving to camps and then going back, and then there was some contradictions there where he was trying to please everyone and she was trying to please everyone, and the coach go, no, you need to do it this way, in swing, in tactics. But that is not synergy. So where we need to build is from two angles. Is that player early on, when I go to the club coach, I've already got a club coach, for an example, and my parents paying for a coach and the national coach. It's up to me as a player, however young, to go, how can we communicate together? But also then, if I'm the club coach, the county coach, the national coach, one of my roles must be that player, who are your coaches? And it might be a parent doing a bit of coaching. Right, I need to at least get on the Zoom, or I need to meet them, and let's set up a communication channel so they understand this is your focus this month. This is what we're doing. Let's keep hooking in. That often, it wasn't happening, and it often doesn't happen now. If I put that into corporate side, I'm working with a corporate company at the moment, a global. And where the issues happen, you've got leaders of departments, leadership teams of departments, and then you've got people above them. And if the relationship of the person above them doesn't stay fit for purpose, i.e. they start withdrawing because they go, I'm not comfortable speaking. They'll be speaking to each other, but all of a sudden that chain of communication is no longer proactive, it's reactive. And this is where the problems happen. And then we start to get the divide. So clarity of role, if we start to lose it, the first thing I've got to do is go, I'm recognizing it's now not fit for purpose. I need to have a one-to-one. I need to share right expectations. How can we make this really effective? What do I need to share with you? What permissions have I got? What autonomy? What do I need to keep you updated with? Let's go for it and let's agree it, and never allow, if I'm sensing it, do something. Back to being proactive. It's so important.
Okay. Right. Should we move on to our rapid fire? Or is there anything else you want to raise?
So much, but you give me on a time constraint, Simon. So no.
I know. It's the CLA. It's the CLA of podcasting here. We have to stick to the method. Yeah. Okay. So we're on the topic of outside influences. How do you deal with that? How do you be proactive with it? So this is our back and forth rapid fire for coaches at all levels dealing with outside influences. All right, go for it.
Build your spider's web, whether you do it on a screen or a piece of paper, put you in the middle and then draw lines of who are the people of influence and then connect to who of those need to communicate with each other. Do that before you start.
Okay. Mental exercise. Reframe coaching and what it means to you. And if you at the moment don't feel that dealing with stakeholders is part of coaching, then either reframe that or move down to a participation level where it's not so relevant.
Build a channel of communication that can last the year or the season, whether you're in corporate or sport. Make sure you've set it up so whatever you set up at the beginning, you can continue with throughout the season, whether that's a live Google Doc on your website, whether that's having meetings or Zooms, a WhatsApp group. Set it up that you know you can commit to for the whole of the season or the whole of the year.
Define the terms of success with your stakeholders, particularly the person above you, whether that's an athletic director or in a community setting, whether that's just the volunteer chair of the club or the coaching coordinator. Ask them, what are the three things that define success for me as a coach this year? Influence that, make sure that you're comfortable with those. So that way, when you get feedback or you get any kind of criticism, just refer them back to those three things you've agreed, and that's it. So if you agree those up front and you're clear on it, you can coach better. And when you are held accountable or there is feedback, you can refer to those three things and shut down that conversation pretty quickly.
Linking into that, make sure whatever you set up success is measurable, that is not just result that we can mark, but also make sure you eliminate all the gray, get rid of all invisible expectations. What is your expectation of this? What does that look like? How can we measure it and agree it using that framework?
Okay. If you're at higher levels, do a stakeholder matrix. This is a 2x2 grid. On one axis, you've got power, and on the other axis, you've got interest. So power is just how powerful is this stakeholder, is this person, and interest is how engaged, how interested are they in your performance. So somebody who's high power, high interest, they have to be the top of your list. You have to be in constant communication with them. Somebody who's low power, low interest, you maybe just need to keep them informed via email, but nothing more. Somebody's high power, low interest, well, do you have to do something to engage them to increase their interest? But don't think of stakeholders as all being equal. Prioritize them using that 2x2 matrix.
If at any point you're sensing that the communication or relationship is no longer fit for purpose in the stream that you know you need to be successful, do something about it. Have your one-to-one, speak to someone for advice, but do not allow it. If you sense it's not fit for purpose, change it. Don't withdraw, don't accept, or that's how it is. And check throughout the season. I would say weekly, 7-day reviews is what I ask with a lot of my clients, is check, how are we doing? How am I doing? How are we doing? And then if you see a bit of gray, if you see a bit of breakage, fix it, invest in it.
When you're dealing with parents, ask them questions about the experience of other people in the team. So if they come to you talking about the experience that Sarah is having, listen, absolutely, but then ask them about the experience of Lucy or whoever else is on the team, and try to open their minds to different perspectives. And if they show you that they're empathetic and they understand the perspectives of other participants in the team, then I think you can really take their views seriously, and maybe they're really on to something. But if they haven't thought about that, maybe that in itself shows them that they're being a little bit narrow. And if they don't have answers, you can then explain the perspective of other players.
Spot all the ninjas. So whether that's in your parents, whether it's in your board meetings, whether it's in your athletes, spot the ninjas. Who are the main people of influence? Make sure you invest in them early and keep them connected into the why and the value to allow them to influence others.
That's a brilliant point, Mark. I think we should finish on that as our final point, because that's really strategic. That's clever. It's not manipulative. It's just being clear who are the opinion leaders. In a marketing language, they would be called opinion leaders. Who leads the opinion of the parent group, for example? Who leads the opinions of your board? And targeting that person and making sure you got a great relationship. That ninja or opinion leader. It's a great way to finish.
And just make sure you're relentless and patient. This will disappear if you don't invest in it. It's a daily investment, weekly investment, monthly, yearly. Don't give up on it. Even if they do, be the one to keep the fire ignited.
Great. Great. Well, as always, thanks to our coaches for listening. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and indeed any other podcast platform that you use. You can also get the video on YouTube. As always, get in touch. Feel free to drop us a line, send us a message, drop a comment on YouTube. Please subscribe and like. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.